The concept of compounding returns is that the return is added back to the principal sum so that the return is earned on the principal sum plus the added return during the next compounding period. Let's say, as a New Year's resolution, two people decide to improve the distance that they can run by training every day for a year. They both decide to run 1 kilometre on the 1st of January and then incrementally build up from there. Paul decides consistency is the best way to improve, so each consecutive day he increases the amount that he runs by 3.3% of his original distance, that is 33 metres a day or 1 kilometre every 30 days. Dave also starts by running 1 kilometre on the 1st of January. However, he decides the best way to improve is to run 1% more than he did the day before. For the first 209 days of the year, Paul runs further each day than Dave. But on the 210th day, for the first time in a year, Dave actually runs further than Paul by about 34 metres. The reason for this is the amount Dave runs each day is increasing exponentially whilst Paul's distance only increases by a static amount. Despite taking 233 days for Dave to reach 10 kilometres in one session, by December he increases by this distance in a single month, while in the same month, Paul, as always, only increases his distance by 1 kilometre. Despite trailing for the first 209 days of the year, by the 31st of December, Dave has run 3,678 kilometres, whereas Paul has only run 2,579. This is the magic of compounding, and the same principle applies to the returns on financial assets, as well as liabilities. Going back to the opening line of this video, the concept of compounding returns is that the return is added back to the principal sum so that the return is earned on the principal sum plus the added return during the next compounding period. In this example, Paul runs the distance of the previous day plus 3.3% of the distance he ran on day 1. It is an increasing but fixed and therefore not compounding figure. Conversely, Dave runs 1% further than the day before, a figure that increases and compounds daily. As you can see, the theory of compounding returns is really quite simple, but its effects can be quite dramatic. Now that you understand the theory and power of compounding returns, we can look at an example that shows how this relates to investing and the hidden cost of doing nothing. Let's say for every working day of the month you spent £3 on coffee. Over the course of the month, assuming an average of 20 working days per month, this would equate to £60, which would equate to £720 over the year, and finally over 30 years you would have spent £21,600 on 7,200 cups of coffee. However, let's say you find out that you're allergic to caffeine, so each month you decide to instead put the £60 into a savings account. Assuming an average nominal return from a savings account of 2% per annum, in the first year you would have made less than £7 in profit. But remember that the benefits of compounding returns take time to materialise. To reference part 1 of this animation, it is a marathon and not a sprint. Over a 30-year period, the £21,600 you would have spent on coffee has become £29,563 in savings. If 30 years into the future you realise you weren't actually allergic to caffeine and wanted to make up for lost time with your additional savings, you would now be able to purchase 9,854 coffees, which is the original 7,200 plus an extra 2,654. This is despite putting up the same amount of capital. If your monthly savings were invested in a diversified basket of shares in global companies which return 9.8% per annum over the same 30-year period, £720 you invested each year over 30 years would have turned into a rainy day fund of £114,000. The 9.8% return assumes the 30-year average annualized return from the MSCI World Index, total return, from 1984 to 2014, although it must be mentioned that past performance is not a guarantee of future returns. So here are some of your potential options. You could continue to drink coffee. You could stop drinking coffee and start putting the money in a box under your bed. You could stop drinking coffee and start putting the money in a savings account with a nominal 2% return. Or you could stop drinking coffee and start putting the money into a diversified basket of shares in global companies. The greater the risk that you're willing to take, the higher potential return your investment can achieve. But you will never see the benefit if you don't start saving and devoting regular amounts of income to your investment portfolio. For more information about investing, please see the Bloomsbury Guide to Investing or reach out to us directly.